Test, test, test. Oh, it is working. Okay, so you can hear me, guys. You can hear me now, guys. Okay. All right, apologize.
This was probably my fault.
We're just going to start all over. Hold on a second.
All right. Oh, we're do this whole thing again. All right.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. Just doing my free show stretches, and apparently with no sound. So it kind of looked like I was just mooning you for like 5 minutes. So, and then apologizing for that. So apologize about the sound, guys.
There was no context.
We're gonna have to like start the podcast from like right here when we do the editing for the podcast. For you people watching the video, don't know what to tell you. Thanks for sticking around and go get through that. Left my store over here.
All right, since you guys didn't hear before, I'm Danny Garcia. I'm Tony Garcia's brother, and I'm going to sit in tonight.
Okay, all right. Actually, you know what, guys? Let's go ahead and what I'm going to do. How many viewers do I have? Wonder if I should Okay, I only have one person.
They're in. If they stuck around this part, they're in. They're watching.
Well, yeah, but if people go back in the future to watch the video, there's going to be no sound at the beginning.
Back to the Future.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, okay, is we're just gonna go ahead and just start from the second half without my ass. Okay, so we're just gonna start it over, and then so just kind of pick up on the next video that comes in. Thank you, Ruth, for letting me know, because holy crap! Actually, for you guys on Instagram, you get to see it a second time because you only didn't see the first part of it. So you got to see me stretch. You didn't see that on Instagram initially, so.
You really missed out.
I'm doing the intro for YouTube and Facebook. So give me a second. All right. So for those of you on Facebook and YouTube, welcome to the live stream of my show. And this is distracting. I got 2 monitors pointed at us now. Okay, we got sound, we got video, we haven't really lost anybody, we're doing pretty good. I am going to go ahead for the Instagram people, just kind of absorb it. I'm going to have Daniel introduce yourself again. So this is my brother Daniel. You might have seen him last week when he came in. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself and your band.
So I'm Danny Garcia. I'm Tony's little brother. I am in a band, Bipolar Opposites. If any of you guys want to go check out our Facebook page or our website, it's www.bporocks.com or facebook.com/bpomusic. We're from Fairborn, Ohio, so right here local. We play shows all over the place around here. We're a lot of fun, so come check us out. Find us. We do have an album. It's on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all the streaming services. You can find us on Amazon. Just look for the band Bipolar Opposites, and our album's called Bars and Churches. So check us out.
Yes.
I suck at self-promotion. One of my biggest flaws.
I'm actually, I want to say I'm good at it, but
he's way better than I am.
I talk about myself all the time. You see, hear me on my YouTube ride. Uber rides. All I do is talk me. So how are you guys going? Where are you going? Oh, did I tell you I'm a writer? Let me tell you about my books for sale. So I am the author of the novel Sins of the Father. You can pick this up on my website, signed copy. I'll have a link below to get a direct purchase on this. At the end of each episode, I do a book signing. So if you buy between now and say the next show next Wednesday, at the end of the show, I'll actually sign a novel for you right here on the show and then mail it to you the next day. I am also the author of Weight Loss for the Rest of Us. It's actually the first book that came out with when I was doing personal training. This one I am giving away for free, so stay tuned to the end. Well, I'll tell you how you can get a free copy of Weight Loss for the Rest of Us. So tonight's story is called The Visitor. It was originally going to be text, but we're going to be doing The Visitor tonight. I had a couple coming on. I had Jeff and Brittany, who's actually the guitar player for Bipolar Opposites, his girlfriend Brittany. She unfortunately wasn't feeling well, so I gave this whole speech, so you probably saw me doing a lot of this. But we did say before, we're going to say again, Brittany, we hope you feel better. And we're going to try to get you guys back on the show. Great couple, great, we love the Bipolar Opposite crew. They're just, just a bunch of great peeps. And also, I mentioned how my daughter is also sick. So, Gabby, I hope you get, feel better. Chances are she won't watch this anyways. My kids don't care. We're on TV and stuff, on Facebook.
Brittany, Gabby, feel better. All right.
And of course, my son just went back to school today from being sick. So I know it's going around. So if you can stay away from it, all the better. So we've got sound, back. All right, we got the video going. I think we lost like the one person on Instagram because it's just a duplicate. But for the rest of you guys on the podcast and on YouTube and Facebook, if you're on this second video that we just started streaming, you're getting it fresh for the first time. And we just started the story, so we didn't get very far, which is good. All right, so this story is called The Visitor. We were going to originally do text, but unfortunately, Jeff and Brittany weren't able to make it, so Daniel decided to join me. I appreciate it. We're going to do, it's mostly dialogue driven between a visitor and an older man. Henry lived alone on his farm until a visitor came knocking on his door. Now he must decide whether to believe the stranger or pay the ultimate price to see his late wife once again. So this is essentially, I'm going to be playing older gentleman. We talked about voices a little bit, so I'll just briefly go into how much fun that is. And he's going to be playing essentially himself talking. Weird alien from outer space, and I will be going from the 71-year-old, which is clearly not me.
I'm glad we're doing different voices because I feel like me and you sound a lot alike.
We do,
and people will get confused if they were both doing the same voice.
And I was actually thinking if like no one came, and I decided to do text, I was actually going to jump from chair to chair for the entire half hour and do both the female voice.
I'm really upset I talked you
I
out of that
I had some ideas, but
he was also going to do a girl's voice of the whole thing.
I was. But
I talked him out of it.
There's going to be plenty of opportunities to do girls' voices. One, you can listen to my podcast to hear female voices. I think a 12-year-old girl is the hardest one I've ever had to do. But I'm sure at some point there'll be times here where I can't persuading to my guests.
Which, I don't know if you mentioned it, he does have a podcast that you can look up on the different podcast apps.
Oh, yeah, it's on Spotify and iTunes.
I've listened to most of your short stories. I don't think I've
thanks.
gotten through all of them, but I've listened to most of them.
His
they're
birthday's
always
coming
fun. It is coming up.
His birthday's coming up in June, so, he's reaching in there.
It's always entertaining.
But, yeah, my podcast is on Spotify and iTunes. All the links will be below, too. And you can even support this, support me on Patreon. As well, but I'll go more on that to the end. So let's go ahead and get the story because I know the people on Instagram are probably going out of their minds right now. Luckily, Instagram Live, like I don't post my short stories on there anymore because you only let 10 minutes of video up unless you're like a national,
So I mean, we've been going for 10 minutes.
Well, I know, I'm trying to get to that point. So like when I've uploaded video, like my podcast, I had to break it up in 2 parts, and no one can watch it because they watch the first part, can't even find the second part. So I stopped doing it on Instagram, but the live stream you can do for an hour. Oh. So that's pretty cool. So that's why we're doing the live stream on Instagram, even though you either have to crank your neck or turn your phone. So they go up to an hour so we can have fun with the live stream.
It's still better than shooting vertical video.
I agree. If you're shooting vertical video, you just need to stop. No. I mean, people can turn their phone. Unless they turn the phone and it turns back, though, it's just recorded.
Those people are doing it wrong.
Yeah, they're doing it wrong. All right, you guys ready to get into the story? I know we are.
Let's get into the story.
Actually already got started. Kind of throw ourselves out of the zone. Thank you so much to my friend Ruth who messaged me and showed me to watch. Let me know there was no sound, so we fixed that. I got a lot of plugs all over the place, and apparently I unplugged that one, getting my drink probably. Tripped over it. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so Henry made his way from the barn to his house, pausing a moment to look up and enjoy the beautiful night sky. As he aged, he found that he enjoyed the serenity of being alone. His wife had passed away years ago, and at first he was lonely. Over time, though, he could feel her presence and felt a strong connection to her on the farm. The door creaked as he opened it. It sounded welcoming. He made himself a sandwich, poured some milk into a glass, and headed into the living room to watch some of his favorite shows. He was halfway done with the sandwich when he heard a knock at the door. I sometimes have sound effects on mine, so I figured I can't have music because I messed up the first episode. At least maybe give some sound effects. We'll see. Let's see. Hello? Just kidding. That should be the way.
You have neighbors?
I do.
They're probably freaked out right now.
Right now. They probably think you're telling me quiet, turn on TV. So they're going to bang back. All right. My neighbors are cool, though. I know them to an extent. He was halfway down when he heard the knock door. The knock startled him, and he looked in that direction. When he heard the knock the second time, he stood up and stopped knocking on the wall.
I said
right
knock.
Here.
All right.
I mean, Jesus.
You just said you knew him.
They're going to come over to my door and bang on my door in a second. Oh, yeah, we better hurry this up. We're already 17 minutes into it, but we actually were recording for 5 on this new one. All right, let's get into this. He stood up slowly and walked toward the door. I'm not even going to do the first part. It was unusual for him to have visitors. He would go into town every other week to get his hair cut, but the groceries and say hi to his few remaining friends. Other than that, he had no visitors, no deliveries, no human interaction between trips. He cautiously looked out the front window to see who was knocking. Though he wasn't a fearful man, he also knew he wasn't a young man anymore either. When he looked out the window, he saw a middle-aged man wearing a suit, Star Wars suit. He looked like a traveling salesman. Henry walked to the door. Can I help you? He asked.
Yes, my car broke down, and I was wondering if I could use your telephone.
The man replied. Though unsure, the man didn't seem dangerous, so Henry opened the door for him. Once face to face, Henry couldn't help but feel like the man seemed familiar. Do I know you? Henry asked. The man hesitated for a moment and said,
I don't believe so. I was just passing through with my car broke down, close to the end of your driveway.
They stared at each other for a moment, and then Henry moved to let him pass. The phone's in the kitchen there, Henry said, pointing in the direction of the kitchen. The man thanked him and walked in the direction Henry had pointed. He found the phone that was mounted on the wall. Henry watched the man make his call, asking for a tow truck to come tow his car. Henry gave the man his address so they knew where he was. When the man was done with the phone, Henry asked if he would like a drink.
Yes, please. I feel like I'm dying of thirst.
William Shatner? Is that
I can do Shatner. You want me to do Shatner? I can do Shatner.
Right, I think we should hear Shatner. I think Shatner is what I'm visualizing now for this. The whole story just changed. The man replied. Henry grabbed a glass and filled it with tap water from the sink. Now I'm going to be talking to William Shatner.
Is this your wife?
The man asked, pointing to a picture on the counter. Yes, says the calm Henry answered, handing the man his glass. Her name was Meredith. She passed away some time ago.
My condolences.
The man replied sincerely.
Thank you again for letting me use your telephone. This could work. I
feel cheated because I feel like I'd make a better Captain Kirk. I'm just saying.
I felt like you were going for more of a Clint Eastwood thing, though. Why don't you go Clint Eastwood?
You feel the lucky punk? You want that water or not? Henry just grunted his reply. I know, it's freaking hot in here. I need to, open a window or something. Well, it's going to be this warm. Would you like to have a seat in the living room? Sorry, I aged. I regressed a little bit. Would you like to have a seat in the living room while you wait for the tow truck? Henry asked.
Yes, thank you.
The man replied, following Henry to the other room. Henry didn't know why, but he felt comfortable around the stranger. His memory wasn't what it used to be, but he felt like he had met this man before. What did you say your name was again? Henry asked.
Clifford Jenkins.
As we discussed last week, I am horrible with
Clifford
names.
Jenkins.
I have the worst.
Leroy Jenkins.
I have the worst names.
Leroy Jenkins.
And all. You just listen to my stories. You're like, where the hell does he get those names from? Not real people.
Not a bad name. Clifford Jenkins is not a bad name.
Yeah, as it goes on, I do get better with names. I think I actually just started taking real names of babies and stuff and come across. I see the labels on there and just take their names.
There you go.
The man replied, reaching out and shaking Henry's hand. The man sat back and said,
This is a beautiful farm. You've kept it up really well. Did the kids help?
Not really from the... I don't think that's really William Shatner anymore. I think we lost him. It's
well,
fine. Just do yourself. Yeah, it's hard to keep up, William Shatner. It is. No, Meredith and I had never had any kids, Henry explained. I lease out the fields to the local business. They do all the upkeep. Clifford nodded his understanding.
Well, they do a really good job.
He said. Like I'm talking to a robot.
I can get it.
Yeah, all right. Henry just nodded and grunted. Henry was always a private man. His wife was the one who enjoyed spending time talking to friends. He kept in touch with some people in town out of respect for her, but he didn't think anyone would really miss him when he was gone.
How long have you lived here?
The man asked. Henry looked around as he answered, as if he was looking out over the farm. Meredith and I bought the farm not long after we were married. She always wanted to live on the farm, and there were plenty of them out here. The previous owner's children sold to us not long after he passed away. Henry looked out the window to see if there was any sign of the tow truck pulling up. The man could tell what he was thinking.
They should be here soon,
the man said.
They told me it wouldn't be long.
That's fine, Henry replied with a weary smile. Henry could barely remember when the last time he had company was, though he knew it had been years. He normally didn't mind being alone. He had gotten used to it. But now that this man had arrived, he found he enjoyed having someone to talk to, even if he only listened while the stranger talked. Whenever he and his wife would be in some sort of social gathering, Meredith did most of the talking. He enjoyed the sound of her voice, and as he sat there with his gentleman, he missed it. Henry felt like he should contribute to the conversation since his wife wasn't here, so he asked, whereabouts are you from?
I'm actually originally from around here, though now I travel all over the place. I'm also 2 bourbons and coke in case anybody was wondering, but go ahead.
That's good. I lost my place anyways. The man replied. Though Henry didn't socialize much, he did know most of the people that lived in town. What did you say your name was again? Henry asked.
Jenkins. Clifford Jenkins.
Like Bond. James Bond.
That's exactly what I was going for. Glad you picked up on it.
The man replied. Henry pondered it. I don't know any Jenkins. I don't know any Jenkins that live around here, he stated. Shit, I'm reading, aren't I? I keep forgetting I'm reading. You waited to... The man seemed to become a little... The man seemed to become a little uncomfortable, as if he was unsure what to say next.
It was a very long time ago,
the man explained.
My family moved away soon after I left. How about you? How long have you lived in this town?
All my life, Henry replied. My family goes back several generations. Though I'm not the only one who took up farming. My parents and grandparents worked at the old mill. The stranger nodded.
Have you ever thought about leaving? After your wife passed?
Now it was Henry's turn to seem a little uncomfortable. Maybe at first, but this is where I feel her strongest, he said. And I'm sure I don't have much longer for this earth. So I see no reason to uproot now. The stranger nodded in understanding. He then looked out the window and then his watch.
Henry,
the man started.
I don't have much time, so I'd like to ask you a few questions that may seem unusual.
This took Henry a little by surprise, and he was unsure of how he should respond, but in the end he nodded.
My name isn't really Clifford Jenkins. It's Billy Miller from the Miller farm on the other side of town.
Dun dun dun, the stranger stated. Henry eyes for you guys don't know what it is unless you heard the story already, so calm down. You don't know the surprise. Henry's eyes furrowed. His best friend when he was a child was named Billy Miller, and his parents did own a farm that everyone called the Miller farm, but he had died when he was only 12. The stranger could tell he was trying to comprehend what he had just told him. I had a best friend named Billy Miller when I was a child, but he died when he was only 12, Henry stated, thinking this man was perhaps a relative of Billy who bore the same name.
I know,
the stranger replied.
That was me.
Now it's a good time. Dun, dun,
That's
dun.
When you do it. You did
That's
it
when
too
you do
early.
It. I did. I didn't. We didn't rehearse. We don't rehearse these. Just so you know, this is completely ad lib. Make it up as we go. The stories is whatever. He let that sink in a little. He could tell Henry was getting a little nervous, so he decided now was the time to come clean with him.
I did die, but I was brought back to life, and I can do the same for your wife, Meredith.
The stranger said bluntly. Henry was unsure what to make of that statement, so he said, I think you should leave. The man didn't move, and as he kept his gaze on with Henry, he said, I
will. Soon.
Dun, dun,
I felt like there was a dramatic pause there.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I felt chills. I felt chills. We should be on TV. Everybody in Hollywood sees this. We're up for hire. Like, we're real cheap, too. You two Hispanic brothers, whatever. We do whatever it takes to make it in this world. He will.
I was just saying the same thing about you. Making promises for the both of us here, man.
Henry felt that if he was a younger man, he would throw this man out. But he felt that he was too weak to do anything other than defend himself if he was attacked. So he sat there, wondering where this conversation would lead him.
There's a race of people that can't reproduce like we can. So they bring the dead back to life to replenish their numbers. That's how I was brought back. And that's how I can bring Meredith back too.
Henry huffed and walked to the window to look out. That's ridiculous, he said.
I know it sounds crazy, but you are my best friend, and I want you to be happy.
The stranger stated.
As soon as I heard about you having lost your wife, I came here.
Henry didn't fully believe the stranger, but the thought of having Meredith back was tempting. Though he didn't fully believe him, he had to find out why the stranger had showed up at his farm to pretend to be his childhood friend, Billy.
I know this seems ludicrous, but I'm running out of time, Henry.
The stranger replied.
Please let me help you before I have to leave.
What is the rush? Henry asked, slight contempt in his voice.
The other race. They're not from this planet, and where they live is very different from here, Henry. Even the air is different.
Why do you say my name?
I just feel like it. I feel like it should. I'm not trying to rewrite your story or anything.
Well, I'm just saying.
Like,
you like my name or something. And the two men stared at each other. Henry wondering why he keeps saying his name.
I can't breathe the air here for too long, or it will soon start to become poisonous.
He explained.
Please let me help you.
Yeah, I forgot the quotation marks on some of these.
You forgot to highlight it too.
I did forget to highlight it. Yeah, I highlight the parts for him, and apparently I screwed up. I'm sorry. Hearing the urgency in the stranger's voice, he decided to hear the man out. Fine. Tell me how this works. It's still me.
Should have highlighted his own shit.
I should have highlighted my own. That's right. The stranger could hear that. That's our one. That's our one bad word.
Now we got to mark it as SFW. Now we have to mark it not suitable for
children.
Oh, you shouldn't have invited me on this show.
Right. And I was planning on using a lot more profanity, but now I'm thinking, wait a minute, then I have to
You got to mark it.
Yeah.
For angry calls from mothers.
Material, so just extra.
FCC gets involved.
That's just a pain in the butt.
Too late now.
Too late now. You used our one shit we're allowed to use.
It's two now.
It's two now. I think shits are unlimited. Remember when South Park came out?
Bitch shit, I think is okay.
Okay, I think we're good. We're good.
I'm done.
We're good
I'm done. No more cussing.
All right. We'll see. It's like 3 more pages. Let's see. The stranger could hear the slight mockery in Henry's voice, but didn't care.
It's very simple.
The man replied.
You just have to agree to go, and we can go along with your wife.
Well, that seems... Okay, I agree, Henry said, just to see what would happen.
I know you don't 100% believe me here, but you have to be sure.
The stranger stated.
Once we do this, there's no going back, Henry.
The sureness in the stranger's voice convinced Henry that maybe the man wasn't making up the story. If you're truly Billy, tell me something that only he would know, Henry said. I should have left this whole dialogue for you. The stranger had already predicted that Henry would need proof, so he knew what he had to say. The stranger told Henry the story when they had found a frog and turned it into a pet. The frog was very distinct, having a black stripe that ran down its body. Neither of their parents knew about it, but it was their secret. They kept it in the shed, feeding it water and insects. One day, they went to check on the frog, only to discover that it had died. Secretly, they both buried it and had a small ceremony for it. Henry's eyes grew wide as the stranger shared the details about the frog. Henry wanted to believe him, but the whole situation was out of the realm of comprehension. When I elaborate on the story, I think I'll probably have a whole chapter just about the frog. I
really feel like you cut out what could have been really good dialogue for me here.
Yeah, I think so. I might just have, well, it won't make much sense if you're not there to read it. Then it's just, the story form. All right, Billy? Was all Henry could say, finally believing him. Henry and the stranger stared at each other for a long moment, and then Henry said, I believe. The stranger's face saddened a little.
There's only one problem, Henry.
The man said. Henry watched the man as he stood and paced. What is it? Henry asked.
We can only take the dead.
Henry. The man said simply. Now I've gotten used to it. I've just gotten used to it. You took it away. It's like Pavlov's dog. You got me trained.
Last week's story, you kept saying the name over and over again.
Over and over again.
This time it's not in there enough. You have to find a happy medium somewhere.
I figured that out the next story. Instead of saying he's over the time, I kept saying the boy's name, Chester. Chester, the little things you don't notice until you're reading out loud. But yeah, now it's completely opposite. Now I missed the name. Let's see.
We can only take the dead.
Only take the dead. Okay. It took only a moment for Henry to realize what he was saying. You mean, I have to die? Henry asked.
I'm afraid so.
The man replied. Henry stood up and paced around the room as the man looked at his watch.
I can make it painless,
The stranger said.
You'll fall asleep, and when you wake up, you'll be with your wife.
Henry stared out the window. Can you
Oh.
just come back for me when I die? Henry asked.
I don't trust this guy.
I don't trust this guy. When everybody says they're going to make it painless, is it ever really painless? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't trust him. The man shook his head.
It's a very long trip, and many people only come to
My
this.
people.
And my people only come to this world every 100 years, and by then you and your wife will have been beyond bringing back. I have questions. We'll get to the end there.
Yeah. Q&A at the end. Q&A
It has
at the
to be
end.
now or never.
Dun dun dun. I need like a gong or something. Henry knew he didn't have long to live, and the unknown of what happens after you die compelled him to believe this man. If there was any chance of being with Meredith again, he wanted to take it. What do I do? He asked the stranger. The man pulled a pill out of his pocket and showed it to Henry. I think in the extended, I'm going to have 2 pills. I'll let him decide which one he wants.
I feel like that's been done.
I'm not going to do blue and red. I'm not going to do blue and red. I'm going to do green and yellow or something.
Completely different.
Completely different. Not stolen from anything. All right.
You just take this.
The man replied.
I promise you, it's absolutely painless.
Why do you say it like that? It does sound nefarious.
It's just how I imagine him saying it and twirling a
Shatner
mustache.
just went away, and a serial killer just stepped in. That's haunting. Henry sat down, took the pill out of the man's hand, and stared at it. It didn't look menacing, but he knew once he swallowed it, there would be no going back. He closed his eyes and swallowed the pill. He began to feel drowsy, and the world became blurry as he drifted off to sleep. The end. Just kidding. You think I would end the story? I should end the story like that, but I'm not. There actually is another part. All right, here we go. So the second part, find out what happened to him. When he opened his eyes, he was staring at a bright light shining over him. He felt like he had just woken from a deep sleep. He blinked the grogginess away. The 2 shadows caught his eye. Once he was fully awake, he realized he was on an operating table, surrounded by 2 forms.
Welcome back, Henry.
A voice he recognized as a stranger said. Why do you make it sound like you don't want to have to see him? This is a happy ending.
Because
people.
I don't know. I
This
just
is a
feel like the
happy
guy's
ending.
getting swindled.
Oh my
no,
God.
I feel like this guy is
I don't think he'll wake
taking
him up
advantage
to
of
swindle.
senior
They're gonna
citizens.
take his kidney. That's an awful lot of work from the old man's kidney.
Is that not where this goes?
And then a more familiar voice spoke. Okay, so I do one woman's voice in here, so I will do this one. Hi, Henry. I missed you so much.
Damn.
Right? Yeah.
Nice.
I know. You should listen to my podcast. You recognize the voice at once. Meredith? He asked, quickly sitting up. He looked around and realized he was in a strange room that looked like something out of an alien movie. He turned to see both Meredith and Billy smiling at him.
Welcome home, Henry.
Billy said as Meredith came forward and gave him a strong hug. They all laughed when the... Okay, kind of a cheesy end.
You forgot to put this in there for a second.
Cheesy end.
He was
I
like-
didn't think about it. It was a cute ending. It was one of my first stories. Here it goes. The last sentence. They all laughed when a frog with a black stripe running down his body jumped out of Billy's hand and onto Henry's lap. All right, so that's a pretty happy ending. You got to see his, friend Billy. Got to,
I did play
reunite
that a
with
little
his
dark.
wife, and you did.
I played it a little
I mean,
dark. I thought the guy was up to something.
I thought the whole idea is when they're having the conversation, is the guy's voice is supposed to be soothing and like you trust the guy, and he turns from William
So
Shatner
these
to
are
a
all
serial
notes.
killer.
These are all notes that
And
would
the
have
guy
been
still
good
goes
to
with
have
them.
before you started reading the story. Like,
I think the guy was suicidal anyways because he just wanted to go. He's like, you know what, whatever, I'm going.
I feel like at the end there when,
you had
when
some
he's
Q&As.
telling him
Yeah.
when he's telling him before he says I can make it painless when he's
Right.
explaining to him that he has to die.
Right.
I think he should say I have to kill you. I can make it painless. Because that's essentially what's
I
happening
have
here, right?
to kill you.
I mean, it's essentially what's happening, right? He's telling him, he's explaining to him.
Pill and goes to sleep.
He murdered the guy, right? You can't really get around that.
Wow. The idea is a very, he's not a killer.
I'm here to kill you.
I'm here to murder you and take you to your dead wife. I mean, that just doesn't have the same.
That's essentially what the story is, right?
Point. Doesn't have the same selling point.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have gone with it if he'd led with that, right?
Huh? Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Ran over a little bit today. We're actually probably still at a half an hour just because we had to re-record. Instagram's the only one that probably saw the first half 5,000 times. And probably they're already sleeping, whatever. But in YouTube and Facebook, probably lost everybody that was watching the first video and gave up. There's no sound. I'm going to sleep. So for those of you that on Instagram that stuck with it, thank you so much. I don't see any views, so whatever. And then people on Facebook that came to the second video and on YouTube and watched, I appreciate it. I will be going back and deleting the one that has no words, words on it. Again, I'd like to thank Daniel for coming on the show, helping me with the voices. Bipolar Opposites. I'll have the links to their website on there. They do have a CD out if you still buy CDs. But I think they can download it.
You can download it. Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that.
Yeah, we need to
bars and churches.
Yeah, we need to get the music up on YouTube, just with just the album cover.
It is.
Is
if
it?
you look it up on YouTube, it's on there. Yep.
Oh.
YouTube Music has it.
There you go.
So
there you go, guys.
Too.
Check out this week's podcast. This is a live version of the stories and podcasts I write. I do all the voices and sound effects and everything, myself with on YouTube and Instagram and Spotify and all that. This week is The Puppet Master. Be sure to check that out. It's about a fallen angel who controls a man to slowly go insane, go on shooting spree. That's a pretty interesting story because I had to keep... that story was written 7 months ago, but I kept having to push back when I published it because shootings kept happening. It seemed an inappropriate time to come out with a story about a mass shooting after we keep having mass shootings. So we've had a little break in that, so I decided to get that story out before it was inappropriate again. Next week's story that I'll have on the story, hopefully have a couple more guests on here. We're going to be doing text, the one that was originally scheduled for today. That one is the story. After a car accident, Samantha finds herself stuck on the floor at a hospital, unable to escape. On the floor, meaning floor, but not on the floor.
Like,
unable to escape. Her only contact with the outside world is through text. So make sure you check us out next week when we do text. I'll have a couple more friends on here to help me with the voices. Otherwise, I will be tapping into my inner Norman Bates and doing the voices myself. Buy a copy of my novel, Sins of the Father. You can buy it. I'll have a link below. It goes directly to the book. Buy it from my website because I'll actually, those are the signed copies. You can buy it on Amazon, but I don't sign those. So go to my website with the link I have, buy it there. And for the next 10 people, that buy this, all right, buy Sins of the Fathers, you'll get my weight loss for the rest of us for free. So you get both of these books signed on next week's episode and shipped out to you there. I have plenty of copies. All right, let's see. And of course, and for those of you that don't are on the next 10, go ahead and buy the books. I will be having another entry. I'm gonna have a prize. So once a month, I'm gonna have a hat made or a shirt made, and I'll actually be giving that out for free for out of drawing for anybody who bought my book in that time frame. And I'll have more information on that when I actually have something made. Description for Daniel will be in my description below. The links to all of his sites and stuff, as well as all mine. You can show your support for the show and for myself by subscribing to me on YouTube, follow me on Facebook, on Instagram. You can also become a patron on Patreon if you're familiar with that. That's where you can actually go on and support artists. I do have different tiers, and for $5 a month, I do have behind the scenes of my podcast recordings where you'll actually get to see me record my podcast and see all the mistakes I make and everything that goes into recording those. So there's a little bit of perks, and of course, I have different tiers where you get a free signed copy of my novel every time a novel comes out or a short story. So please check that out. It's at patreon.com /Hanshi Antonio Garcia. If you don't know how to spell, don't worry, it'll be in the description below. Again, thank you so much for joining us this week, Daniel. Thank you so much. I'm going to kick him off the couch so he can go over and get ready to stop recording, so we're not both sitting here staring at the. Yeah, I can't do it. I'm a star. I don't want to do it. I gotta stand here and look at you until we fade out. It's at Instagram. I do have to walk up to Instagram and do that. All right. So let me know before you put it. Just hover over. Might be on the wrong screen. Go to there you go. Just, all right, you ready?